On the 14th of July, 32 sommeliers gathered in London to participate in the first edition of the Taylor's Port UK Sommeliers Challenge. 6 vintage ports were selected from 6 decades to be tasted blind. In the days following the tasting, each sommelier sat down not only to guess which one of each of these vintage ports, which year, whether it's a classic vintage or a single quinta, but also in-depth tasting notes, recommendations on how to serve these ports, and finishing off with a suggested food pairing. The vintage ports were carefully selected to represent the finest vintage ports that we produce at Taylor's, starting with the first vintage port to be the magnificent 1970 vintage. Following that, the second vintage was the classic 1985 vintage. The third vintage was the most extraordinary 1994 vintage. Then we selected a vintage port from the iconic Quinta de Vargelas from the year of 2004. The fifth vintage is the 2016 Taylor Classic Vintage Port. We finished then with the new release of the 2022 Sentinels Vintage Port. It was with immense satisfaction that I went through every single submission by each of the sommeliers. The quality of the tasting notes, the recommendations that were given, and to finish off with the creativity of the different combinations of pairings. It was truly a creative selection, so it was not an easy task. It is with great pleasure that I announce the winners of the first edition of the Taylor's Port UK Sommeliers Challenge. And in 5th place, Jacopo Maroni. In 4th place, Roberto Zenca. In 3rd, Danielle Greaves. Runner-up and in 2nd, Natasha Senina. Now, for the overall winner, and I do not yet know, the winner is Roxanne Dupuy. Absolutely outstanding submission. The quality of the tasting notes, the recommendations, and the selection of pairings was an outstanding submission and a very honourable winner of this first edition. Congratulations. And congratulations to all sommeliers who participated in this inaugural edition. At Taylor's, it is our mission to bring vintage port to the knowledge of the sommeliers and the consumers of this fine wine. We look forward to future editions and many a participation. Thank you very much.